about real estate industry. About 2015, the contribution to the GDP of real estate was about 5%. In about 23, it's about 8%, and expected to go to 15% by 2030. And that is the trajectory that the real estate has shown now. Now, the other side of it is the indirect contribution to the GDP. Let's look at that. Real estate is a major consumer for 250 industries, major consumer. And those 250 industries contribute between 40 to 45% to the GDP. So when you see in the overall perspective, direct and indirect, close to 50% is where real estate gives to the GDP. And that comes to address to the point that the major pain points that come to the industry despite having such direct and indirect contribution to the GDP is mind-boggling. Now, what we need to do is, like we were talking about doing ease of business. I do not want to get into where and what, but there are certain models that can be adopted and taken from the country in certain parts of the country. Like in Andhra, there is a beautiful system where you have single window clearances, licenses are in place, conversions are done. Anything between 30 to 60 days time period, it's done. Here we struggle for months and years together to get things in order, paperwork in order. Of course, Goa is very unique in that way because the legal system here is having communal facades, Portuguese laws, all these things come into picture. But it's not that it's impossible to achieve. Now, in terms of the government's input on what we want to try to achieve in terms of ease of doing business, or in the other side of it, addressing the pain points of what you want to understand, we have actually come a long way, and we have yet to go a very long way. So let me spell out that for you. For example, of late, you must have seen the TCP ministry becoming very active in terms of active as in proactive. So I would say proactive because for the last couple of decades, the rules and regulations were not touched. Now we are looking at inviting golf courses, we are looking at inviting farmhouses, we are looking at having these kind of areas which have never been addressed in our bylaws or in terms of the regulations that Goa brings. Introduction of the 39A where zone changes can be done, of course through a specialized committee which is appointed, and there is a town planner involved, there are specialized agencies involved in getting all this done. So this is quite proactive. But on the other side of it, there are certain areas where infrastructure itself is not completely developed. A lot of villages do not have MRF facilities. A lot of villages are stuck because the court has ordered not to go ahead without the MRF facilities. So people who are staying in those villages or want to do some development in the village is completely stuck, especially in the Salsette Taluka. Now, one more point coming, which is linked to MRF, is the STP issues, that is sewage treatment plants. Why can't government have sewage treatment plant and sewage networks all over the state? Because then it solves the problem of, I don't know if you're aware, but anything more than 20 units in a residential project needs to have a sewage treatment plant. Now, sewage treatment plant of that nature, first 5 years is run by the developer. After that, it goes to the society. It is never run properly. It doesn't solve the purpose. Over the next 5 years, 10 years, it just stops performing the way it should. Then what people do, they divert it down in the drain, and ultimately the whole purpose is lost. So just by putting onus on the developer for the first 5 years, it doesn't solve the problem. Because eventually the society will take over, the members who are staying in there take over. So a sewage network is very important. So that way, infrastructure development is a major pain point as well. I think in terms of what Anirudh also earlier mentioned, I'm coming back to the single window system of clearance. We need IT systems to be in place. Right now, Go Online, like he rightly said, is a facade, and at the back end is still paperwork and all is still going on. So if these are addressed in some way, in the larger perspective of things, I think we'll be able to achieve quite a bit in terms of doing better business, being on the larger scale of the industry.